Welcome. This is a 15-minute insight meditation, sometimes called Vipassana meditation. And the goal will be for us to center our attention on an anchor and do our best to stay with it. So let's go ahead and begin. Coming into a seated position where we can be upright and alert but still relaxed. Taking a moment to settle into the body. Noticing yourself in the space wherever you are. Noticing the touch points with your environment, the seat on the cushion, your hands in your lap. Inviting some relaxation into the shoulders, softening the belly. And then turning your attention to the breath, taking a nice deep inhale. Letting it go in your own time and taking one or two more nice deep breaths just to let our awareness fall into the physical sensations of breathing. Our minds can run all over time and space, but our bodies are always here and now. So focusing on the breath is a great way to bring our brains into alignment with our body and be in this present moment. And then once you've taken those deeper breaths, letting go of any control around the breathing, letting it find its natural rhythm. And seeing if you can still notice the sensations of breathing as they get more subtle. Can you still notice the rise and fall of the chest, the movement of air through the nose or over the lips? And then gradually widen that awareness to take in whatever else might be true for you today. Asking that question, how are you and how do you know? Not worrying too much about the how are you part. You are however you are. But instead, lending your curiosity, your attention to that question of how do you know? So if you're feeling sleepy, why is the word sleepy the one that comes to mind? What are the physical sensations, the emotions, the thoughts? If you're feeling anxious, how do you know? What does anxious feel like? Take a moment to get curious. And know that there are no wrong emotions. And then however you find yourself today, let's bring in some gratitude for the body, for all that it does, even when things aren't perfect. And, we're human. When are things perfect? But we're all well enough to be here, to make some time for ourselves, to take a few deep breaths. And that is truly a gift. So sending some thanks inward to the body for everything that is good enough. And then if there's anything or anyone else you'd like to include in your gratitude practice, bringing them to mind. Maybe it's just the roof over your head or a cup of tea or coffee. Maybe there's someone who supports you in your writing. And then lastly, it's important to remember that gratitude is given and received. So taking a moment to remember time that you received gratitude, a time that someone said thank you to you. And what did it feel like? How was that to receive gratitude? And then we'll let go of the gratitude practice altogether, and we'll shift our attention to an anchor, choosing an anchor that feels right to you, whatever that is. It could be the breath. It could also be a physical sensation or the sounds in the room. Whatever works for you to simply have a mental home base, a place to rest your attention and come back to when your mind wanders, because it will. It absolutely will. We're going to do our best to stay with that anchor, and then sooner or later you'll notice a thought has carried you off. And instead of getting upset with yourself for not staying with the anchor, I'd like to invite you to consider that when you noticed that your mind wandered, that was you being mindful. You have become more aware of your thoughts, and that's the whole goal here. So don't beat yourself up. Instead, think like, hey, you did it. You've noticed that your mind has wandered. Now you get to choose what you do with that thought. And the invitation for the next 10 minutes or so is to let those thoughts go, come back to the anchor, refocus, and begin again. Check in with your mind. Notice if it's wandered off. If so, let those thoughts go. Come back to the anchor and begin again. And as we come to the end of our meditation, I'd invite you to consider that actually what we're doing is simply changing the focus of our attention. You can think of making your writing the anchor. So as you open your eyes and turn towards your work, think of the writing as your anchor. The thoughts will still arise. If they're useful, use them. If they're not useful, if the thoughts are something like you should be folding laundry, you say later for that, and you come back to the anchor and begin again. So I hope this helps you in your writing. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you next time.